Advertising is one of the fastest growing industries in Nigeria. A good deal of investments have been channeled into the country to keep it abreast of, with the pace of other vibrant sectors of the economy. Now, this industry has gone far beyond focusing on selling products, but also building brand awareness and trust. Rather than taking a transactional approach, advertisers began to offer solutions to problems. Yes, indeed. Joining me live in the studio to look at recent developments in that entire sector is the president of the Association of Advertising Agencies of Nigeria, that's AAAN. He doubles as the chief executive officer and chief creative officer at Extreme Ideas, Mr. Steve Babaiko. It's good to have you in the studio.
Hi, Telu. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, maybe I should say Happy New Year or something, but I know it's been a while too, and it's late in the year. Let's talk, like we said, behind the cameras. Sure. The last time we spoke was around COVID and all of that. So I wanted to ask, let's do an overall overview of that sector, that's the advertising and marketing space. In all of this while, what's been happening? What are the latest hits in that sector?
Quite a bit, actually, because I think after COVID, the president accented to the ACON bill.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, so since then, I think we've seen a lot of activities going on. Some people seem to agree with the bill, and a whole lot of people also have their disagreement with the bill. I'm hoping at the end of the day, the ecosystem will come together and we'll sit down and discuss some of the issues going forward. But like they say, the regulator has to regulate, I guess. So, yes. But I'm really, really happy that we are beginning to take certain steps forward in the industry to make sure we sanitize and clean house to create a much more vibrant advertising sector. Let me give you an example. Okay. Like the UK as an entity, yeah. For every 20 billion naira, 20 billion pounds that's invested or spent in the advertising space, it leads to a generation of about 120 billion pounds in the UK economy. Wow. That's the powerful nature of advertising as an industry. So it's an industry we need to pay more attention to.
Paying more attention to that. After the crisis and all of that, did we see any fall in investment? I can use that word after all of these issues. Did we see any drop in figures of what we used to get for the advertising industry?
Definitely. Most definitely. If you recall that COVID disrupted the entire supply chain of the economy, yeah. And for the clients. And once the clients catch cold and they start to sneeze, then the advertising industry starts to catch cold. Yes. Of course, the clients will need to do what they had to do. In some cases, some of them cut budget. And usually when they go on budget cutting spree, advertising budget and marketing budget is usually the first to go, which is not usually the right thing to do. It's most likely a knee-jerk reaction to a terrible state of the economy. But having said that, I think we are beginning to see a slow climb where clients are beginning to come back. All of the whole distribution channels are open post-COVID. And so we expect to see a brighter advertising sector.
I'll follow up that. What about the digital space? There's been a lot of activities in that digital space. Can you take us through some of it?
Well, I mean, first and foremost, I
think that's where to be now.
You have to be there. You can see that the marketing spend is gradually moving from traditional channels like radio, TV, print, more to digital space, and it's a lot more easier space to regulate, to put your message in, and so it's a global trend that Nigeria is beginning to catch up with. But now I think that's why ACON too had to come to say, look, if all of these activities are happening here, we have to regulate that space as well. So I think there's so much happening within that space now that ACON as a regulator will have to take care of and maybe agree with all of the major stakeholders to see how we move forward.
Yeah, what are the major challenges now at the moment? And of course, what are the possible solutions moving on?
Well, the major challenges at the moment is that there are many. Like the last speaker you had spoke about maybe the insecurity in the country. Yeah. So you can see that now the cost of doing business, apart from even this insecurity, it means you can't fly, you can't drive to Abuja because you're scared of being kidnapped. The same thing happens to your clients in trying to move their services and goods from one place to another. Trains are being attacked, and at the same time, the cost of flying has more than quadrupled. So you can see how that begins to slow down business. That is one. Secondly, the jackpot syndrome is real. And when people talk about jackpot syndrome, you think, oh, it's just about people losing talents in the workplace. It goes beyond that. Now you see entrepreneurs who set up their own business, actually sell their business, close shop, and jackpot. So you can imagine that if the compound effect on the economy of the country. So those are the major, and look at the cost of diesel. The cost of diesel has moved to about over 800 naira from
300 or something.
It's crazy. So for anybody to be able to keep their lights on in their office space, it's difficult. So those are the major challenges facing the industry that we're hoping to find panacea to as soon as possible.
Indeed, and like everyone would say, it's a time of setting agendas because we expect the president-elect to be inaugurated in a few days and a lot of requests from all sectors. And this sector remains very strategic, particularly brand Nigeria, how we project ourselves. Now, so what are you looking at? What's your advice if you were to talk about your industry where you know that you have that capacity to run? What really are the quick wins for this new government?
The quick win for this new government is try to build national unity as quickly as we can. I don't think there's been any time where this country is as divided as we are today, maybe during the Civil War, but even then, I'm not sure it's this bad. So for me, I think any new government should quickly move in and see how we can rally around everybody, because for Nigeria to succeed, we all have to work together as one people. So national unity for me is like top priority for any government. And where I stand as the president of AAAN, we are more than happy to volunteer our services. This is the talent we have. This is the only thing we do for a living. Build brand, create communication that resonates with the people of Nigeria. We've done that for over 100 years, and we're more than happy to support in any way that we can.
Great stuff. Let's now look away from our shores. Of course, our shores and away from our shores. When do you see all of these economies coming back to pre-COVID levels, where we start to see those beautiful figures that used to entice us and make projections, and we can stay with those projections? How soon do you see that coming back?
It's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult. I really, it's quite very grim projecting into the future, because the Ukraine-Russian crisis is still on. Unless we're able to settle down real quick, that's going to continue to drag the global economy south. And if the global north has the economy going south, then it's going to trickle down to Africa. Look at the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Nobody knew where the wheat we were consuming here was coming from until that war started. Now the cost of semolina and bread has more than quadrupled since this war started. So the same thing is going to happen as those economies continue to suffer. It has its own trickle-down effect on the economy of Africa as well. So I'm just only hopeful that we'll find a resolution to some of those geopolitics.
And they're beyond us. That's the issue.
No, definitely. There's really nothing we can do. Usually, Africa, sometimes we just hold the short end of the stick. You know, you're talking about global pollution. Africa has the least number of percentage of pollution going on, but we bear the highest brunt of global pollution happening in the world. So we're hoping that we can get our own acts together as a nation. With a new administration coming in, we can really pull ranks together, get the people of Nigeria together so that we can at least cushion the effect and impact on our people.
Let me follow up with that. Many times we talk more federal government. I know there was a time there were some issues around states, but what kind of support do you need from state governments to understand what you do?
Well, the thing is that I think generally the government, whether federal or state, should actually support the local advertising industry by spending with registered AAAN agencies. We have examples on the continent, like in South Africa, they will patronize the local advertising industry in South Africa. And it's not so difficult to see why the South African advertising industry is doing way better than that of Nigeria. And I'll give you numbers. The South African advertising industry is almost about $3 billion, compared to a GDP of just over 300 billion that South Africa has, while that of Nigeria is a paltry $500 million with a GDP of over 400 billion. Dollars. So if you check the percentages, the numbers are not adding up. But what the South African government would do is to say there will be BEE quotas. So black empowerment is like there's an affirmative action laws to back that up. So I think the government should do that as well. Instead of contracting foreign advertising agencies and spending money in dollars that we don't have, we should look inwards and contract local advertising agencies that have shown competence to be able to perform.
I know you guys sometimes have issues to do with non-registered, some entering your industries and all of that. What have you been doing around that as president of AAA, and how challenging has that been?
Well, it's still a challenge because there are still so much leakages in that spot where people from that are not, we're not even saying foreigners should not come and practice here. Okay, but at least follow due process, register with ACON, come and register with AAA. And I want to use this opportunity to challenge the ACON register to sit up and do more in that space as well. He's done a lot of great things, which I salute him for, but I think we will all need to continue to do more to improve the industry.
I was reading through and I see Extreme Ideas emerging the best winner at the Picture Awards of 2023. Yeah. Always there, always on top. What are you doing differently? What's playing out?
Well, I mean, as the president of AAA, it's difficult for me to speak at Extreme on this. But I mean, the thing is, I see that there's a lot of improvement in the service delivery generally across the Nigerian advertising industry space. A lot of local Nigerian agencies are beginning to win global laurels. So the Pictures Award, Extreme Ideas, for this 2023 edition emerged as the Pan-African Agency of the Year. Congratulations to Team Extreme, but also congratulations to all of the other fantastic Nigerian agency making Nigeria proud across the world.
Before I let you go again, I'm still going to bring you back to the issue of brand Nigeria.
Sure.
Many have argued that we need to personally, as humans, change that narrative, of us as Nigerians, what we say about ourselves, our actions, and all of that. And when I think about that branding thing, it takes me to the advertising, and because you guys show us to the world. So what more can we as individuals do to change this perception about Nigeria? It's all about negatives. The biggest refinery was just inaugurated on Monday. This same Nigeria. Well, we have good news here.
Well, I think there are lots of good news. And to be honest, when we say we need to speak more better about ourselves, I think sometimes a little bit of red herring going on there, because I promise you, if you go to that digital space, I doubt if you find any other country where citizens are as proud to be Nigerian as maybe Nigerians. And if you want to test this, let a Kenyan or a Ghanaian attack any Nigeria online. You see how people come to defend them. Hilda Basi went and was attempting to break the Guinness Book of Records. Nigerians trooped out in the rain to support her. They don't even know her. So I think the government just needs to play catch up. See, the nationalism, the spirit of nationalism is already there in Nigerians. But what Nigerians want is just a government to be able to perform, make the basic amenities available for them, and then you see a turnaround, because with music, with films, we're already doing it. These are industries that have independently taken Nigeria to the world with zero government support. So you can imagine what these individuals, young Nigerians, can achieve if there's government support. I think that's what we need to pay more attention to.
Brilliant stuff. Let's now talk about your industry people, the advertisers and all of that. Well, what is your message to them at this very critical time that everyone is looking at the books because of the negatives, of course, around the economy?
I said, look, we can afford to lose everything but hope. Hope is the only thing we cannot afford to lose at this time. We all need, as practitioners, we all need to be hopeful. We all need to be positive, and we all need to look northwards towards a better Nigeria, and I believe in our lifetime it's going to happen.
Well, I must thank you so much. Interesting conversation with you as usual. CEO and Chief Creative Officer, Extreme Ideas, President AAA, and Mr. Steve Babaiko. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Nigeria. We do appreciate this.
Thank you so much.
All right.